If these behaviors are occurring, it's possible that you're not the only guy she's talking to. Hey there, fellas. Welcome back. It's your girl Cynthia here. Let's dive into the juicy stuff, shall we? So, you know how tricky it can be to figure out where you stand in someone's life, especially when it comes to romance, right? It's like trying to solve a mystery sometimes. But fear not, because I'm here to spill all the tea and leave no doubts in your mind, okay? In this video, we're going to uncover some telltale signs that she might be juggling a few other guys along with you. Yep, we're going to blow the lid off this thing and make sure that you're fully in the know. So buckle up, boys, because it's about to get interesting. Let's dive into these indicators you need to keep an eye out for. I will also be including some tips, okay? Let's address the first issue, divided attention. It's common for individuals to juggle various relationships, including friends, family, and colleagues, right? However, if she is consistently prioritizing these connections over your relationship without maintaining a reasonable balance, it's a cause for concern, right? A key indicator of a strong romantic interest is being mentally and emotionally present when spending time together. Maybe she's just not ready for a relationship. Who knows, right? If she frequently appears distracted, preoccupied, or disengaged during your interactions, it could possibly suggest that her thoughts or interests are somewhere else. Take note of how she prioritizes her time and her activities. If she is consistently opting for other activities or even social connections over spending time with you, it could possibly signify that the relationship isn't her primary focus and that the relationship is not in a healthy state. So you have to take some time to evaluate this and notice these things, okay? Not everyone has other commitments and interests outside of the relationship. However, if there's a consistent pattern of prioritizing these commitments over spending time together, it could indicate a lack of genuine interest, okay? Genuine interest in a relationship is often accompanied by a desire to connect deeply, which is reflected in being attentive and present, right, when spending time together. It's important to assess the consistency of her behavior to understand where her priorities lie. Have there been any recent changes, or has this pattern been ongoing for a while? Changes in the level of attention she gives you can indicate shifts in her feelings or priorities, okay? In today's digital age, frequent use of mobile phones and social media while together can be a sign of divided attention. If she's more focused on her phone than on spending time with you, it might suggest that other connections are taking precedence over your relationship, or she's just getting bored, okay? She's getting bored of the relationship for some reason. But here are some tips that I'm going to give to you guys, okay? So, first tip, express your feelings. Communicate openly with her about how you feel when you sense that she's not fully present during your time together. Use those I statements when you do, okay? Express your desire for more focused attention and quality time in the relationship. Another thing is to set boundaries. You need to establish boundaries together regarding the use of technology and social media during your time together. You could even do positive reinforcement. Hey, honey, I really enjoyed our time tonight, especially because you were so focused on me and you weren't on your phone, and I really appreciate that time together. Okay, you can say those kinds of things, right? Encourage her to prioritize being mentally and emotionally present when spending time with you. All right? Another thing that you can do is to plan meaningful activities. What does that mean? Plan activities together that actually foster that deep connection and engagement between the two of you. This can actually help strengthen the bond between you and actually create opportunities for quality interaction. If you seem distracted as well, or you're too busy working, or you're too busy, doing other things as well, or hanging out with the boys doing things that she doesn't really have an interest in doing, it could mean that she's probably just finding, other activities that she finds more enjoyable rather than sitting around wondering if you're going to call her. Okay, so plan meaningful activities. I can't tell you how valuable that is, gentlemen. Really think about the things that you know she enjoys, okay? And find ones that you can do in common that you actually will enjoy as well, all right? One of the hallmarks of a strong romantic interest is being mentally and emotionally present when spending time together, okay? So, if she appears distracted or disengaged during your interactions, it could indicate that her thoughts or interests might not be where they need to be in the relationship. All right? Now, another tip is to assess the relationship. Reflect on the level of attention that she gives you and whether it actually has been consistent, or if there have been some recent changes. Who knows, right? Maybe all of a sudden you feel a shift. Changes in her level of attention could indicate shifts in her feelings or priorities. Address those things, right? Reassess the situation on a consistent basis. Reassess the relationship, right? Is it a good fit for you guys, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you chuck the relationship and you guys break up and, just because you're seeing a little bit of distraction, right? The most important thing, like I said, is the first tip, right? You need to communicate. You need to talk about these things, right? All right. And the last tip is to evaluate technology use, right? Like I said earlier, in today's digital age, frequent use of mobile phones and social media during your time together could potentially be a sign of divided attention, right? But if she's more focused on her phone than your physical company, it might even suggest that other connections are taking precedence over the time she spends with you, and it can actually not feel very well, right? So you need to address these things. Remember, genuine interest in a relationship is often accompanied by the desire to connect deeply, which is reflected in being attentive and present when you guys are together. Assess the consistency of her behavior and communicate openly about your feelings and expectations in the relationship. Now, let's tackle the second issue, avoiding close proximity. Okay, in the early stages of a relationship, a significant indicator of interest is the effort put into spending time together. If she frequently dodges opportunities to meet up or even appears indifferent to your suggestions for plans, it could imply that you're not high on her list of priorities. How she manages her schedule can provide valuable insights into her level of interest. I know this can be hurtful, but you need to hear the truth if we're going to learn from this, right? Consistent unavailability or frequent last-minute cancellations, for example, without an effort to actually reschedule may signify a lack of commitment, okay? She might provide explanations for her actions, but it's crucial to distinguish between legitimate schedule conflicts or mere excuses. Whether her unavailability stems from genuine obligations like work or personal responsibilities, I know I'm a very busy woman being a boss babe, right? Or it could be the reasons like excuses to avoid spending time with you can provide important insights that you're going to need to understand the dynamics of your relationship. An uninterested woman may often include you in her plans, but actually lacks the enthusiasm when you invite her to join you. Pay close attention to how she responds to future planning. This doesn't necessarily mean that she's completely lost. You can regain this, okay? You can fix this, and I'm going to give you some tips. Does she actively engage with the idea, showing interest, right? Or does she keep things vague and non-committal? This can actually help in revealing a lot about her level of interest and investment in the relationship. Okay, so the first tip I'm going to give you is that communication is key. You need to express your desire to spend time together openly and honestly. Let her know that you value the connection and would like to see her more often. And if she really genuinely cares about you, she's going to hear that and she's going to take that in, okay? She's not going to be dismissive. Be understanding. Also, understand that everyone has different schedules and priorities. Maybe you need to find some hobbies yourself, okay? However, if she's consistently too busy in order to meet or, frequently cancels plans last minute without rescheduling, it could signify a lack of commitment, okay? Whatever reasons she might have is none of your business. But the truth is, her lack of commitment can be obvious, all right? But practice a little bit of understanding. Use your discernment. Use your best judgment. Okay, another thing that you can do is you can initiate quality time. You can actually plan meaningful activities that both of you enjoy. That's the key, okay? That both of you enjoy, and make an effort to spend quality time together. This can actually help in strengthening your bond and show her that you're serious about the relationship too. Okay? Now, I want us to examine how she arranges her schedule, right? This can provide valuable insights into her level of interest. If she's constantly brushing you off, or even like when you give suggestions for plans and she cancels it without offering to reschedule it, right? It may possibly suggest that she's not fully committed to the relationship, right? So here's some things that you can also do. Observe these patterns. I want you guys to pay attention to her scheduling habits, right? Is she consistently too busy to meet up, or does she prioritize spending time with you? Right? It could be one week she's really busy because she's got deadlines, she has, meetings that she has to attend, whatever it may be. For me, it's my, recordings, right? These take a lot of planning, a lot of time, especially, coming up with the topics, doing the research, giving you guys helpful stuff. Takes a lot of time, but that's not the biggest concern or issue for me anyways. It's really just these recordings themselves, right? Because I need to have uninterrupted time, so my phone goes into do not disturb mode and so on and so forth. But the best thing you can do with your partner is just communicate those things, right? Break it up even, right? There's different things you can do. So if she's showing an effort to actually address these things, then that's a good sign. All right. Another thing that you can do is you can actually give her your concerns, address those concerns with her. So if you notice a pattern of avoidance or indifference, have an open and honest communication about your concerns, okay? Express how her behavior makes you feel and discuss potential solutions together, okay? Evaluate these excuses as well. That's another tip. Even though she may provide reasons for her unavailability, it's important to distinguish between valid schedule constraints and just mere excuses. Trust your instincts, fellas, okay? I want you guys to also consider whether her reasons seem genuine or if they're just a way to avoid spending time with you, all right? Lastly, observe her reactions to future planning. Does she engage with the idea enthusiastically? Or does she keep things vague and non-committal, right? Pay attention to her level of enthusiasm and her willingness to actually make plans together. This can help in providing valuable insight into her level of interest and commitment to the relationship. Now, let's discuss the third point. Indifference when you receive attention from other people. In many relationships, it's common to experience a certain level of jealousy. Wouldn't you agree? When your partner receives attention from others, especially when there's a strong emotional connection, it's a natural response, right? It's almost like I call it more, instead of jealousy, I like to call it territorial. You want to protect what's yours when you're territorial. When you're jealous, it's you want to protect something that's not even yours, right? Now, it often reflects a person's desire to maintain a special bond and their reluctance to share you with anyone else. However, if she shows no reaction or concern when other women show interest in you, it could suggest that she doesn't feel threatened by this possibility, right? Because for some reason, she just doesn't view the relationship as exclusive or particularly serious. It's essential to note that a lack of jealousy doesn't always mean a lack of interest or exclusivity, okay? Some women simply don't exhibit strong jealousy and believe in giving their partner space and trust. Therefore, it's crucial to communicate openly and to also understand her views on relationships and exclusivity. Hopefully you guys have already shared some conversations about this. Think back to those conversations, okay? This direct approach can provide much clearer insights than simply interpreting behavior. If she values independence and trust over possessiveness in a relationship, her lack of jealousy might be more reflective of these values rather than a lack of interest in you. So keep that in mind, okay? Okay. Indeed, I want to say it is essential to consider the consistency of her behavior in various contexts, okay? If she generally shows emotional involvement and interest in your life, but isn't visibly jealous, it could simply be a part of her personality, right? It's important to remember that cultural and even personal factors greatly influence how jealousy is expressed. Her background and past experiences in relationships could also shape her reaction to situations like these. So remember, it's crucial to factor in all these elements when trying to understand her perspective and even make decisions about the relationship altogether. But here's some tips that you can use. Of course, like I always say, open dialogue. I want you guys to initiate a conversation with her about your feelings regarding attention from others and gauge her response. See what she says. Express your desire for clarity, right? And even exclusivity in the relationship. And listen to her perspective as well. Another tip is to clarify expectations. I want you guys to clearly communicate your expectations for the relationship, including your views on exclusivity and even commitment. Okay? Encourage her to share her own expectations and her boundaries to ensure mutual understanding and respect. Okay? Another thing is to evaluate the consistency. Consider her behavior in various contexts. If she generally just shows, emotional involvement and interest in your life, right? But she actually lacks that visible sign of jealousy, it might just be a part of her personality. Okay? So, it's essential to recognize that lack of jealousy doesn't necessarily equate to a lack of interest or non-exclusivity. Some women just prioritize independence and trust in relationships and might not exhibit strong feelings of jealousy, okay? So it's crucial to communicate openly and understand her views on relationships and exclusivity. That direct approach can actually provide you with much clearer insights rather than simply just interpreting behavior that is incorrect, okay? And remember that cultural and personal factors also greatly influence how jealousy is expressed. And even her background and her past experiences might shape her reaction. Okay, so take these factors into account when trying to understand her perspective and make decisions about the relationship altogether. Now, let's discuss the fourth issue, vagueness about commitment. Okay, when someone is genuinely interested in a relationship, they're usually open to discussing the future and where things may be headed. However, if she consistently avoids or deflects conversations about commitment, it indicates that she's not ready to commit to an exclusive relationship with you. So, it's essential to pay attention to how she responds when topics of commitment or future plans arise. A woman who sees a potential future with you will often be more direct and clear about her intentions. However, engaging in future conversations can sometimes reveal mismatched goals and expectations without room for compromise. It's crucial to recognize and address any discrepancies in goals early on in the relationship, just to ensure that mutual understanding and compatibility is key, okay? For instance, if you express an interest in living in a particular country, but she responds with a statement like, well, I'm never gonna live in a place like that. It's a significant indicator, guys, okay? Her direct response suggests that she's not willing to compromise on her stance, indicating that her options are open and may not align with yours. This disparity in goals can signify potential challenges in the relationship even in the future, okay? Keep an eye out for inconsistencies between her words and her actions. If she claims to be interested in a serious relationship but her behavior suggests otherwise, it could indicate that her commitment to you isn't strong or exclusive. Actions often speak louder than words in relationships, so trust your observations and your feelings if you notice any discrepancies, okay? But here are some tips on things that you can do. Open communication. I want you fellas to express your desire for clarity and honesty in the relationship. Let her know that you value transparency and would actually like to discuss future plans together, okay? Another tip is to be patient. Give her space and time to express her thoughts and feelings about commitment. Avoid pressuring her into making decisions before she's ready. I'm going to give you an example. If you guys have only been dating for 3 to 6 months, it is not time to talk about all these things, possibly, if she's not ready yet because she has other commitments such as school, work, kids, whatever it may be, okay? Take into consideration her background. Understand her full story before you start to give her that sort of like feeling of pressure, okay? Another thing, evaluate that compatibility. I need you guys to consider whether your goals and expectations align with hers. If there is a significant difference, discuss potential compromises or even reassess the compatibility of your relationship with her, okay? Another tip is to be observant. Watch for those inconsistencies between her words and her actions. If she claims to be interested in a serious relationship, like I said before, but her behavior suggests otherwise, it could indicate that her commitment to you isn't strong or exclusive. So watch for those signs, okay? Pay attention very closely. This is a time for you to really put in those listening ears and those watchful eyes, okay? Another tip, address your concerns with her. If you notice discrepancies in her behavior, have an open and honest conversation about your concerns. Express how her actions make you feel using I statements, okay? We've talked about this in a previous show. And I want you to also discuss potential solutions together, okay? Remember, communication is key in any relationship. By addressing your concerns openly and honestly, you can help in strengthening that connection and work together towards a mutually fulfilling partnership. Now, let's tackle the fifth issue, infrequent texts and calls. It's pretty straightforward, okay? Regular and frequent communication typically signals a strong interest and a desire to connect. Conversely, if you notice sparse responses or delayed brief replies, it might actually indicate that she's not as invested in the relationship as you are. This scenario could be a sign that she's not fully invested in you. When one person consistently initiates contact without much reciprocation, it suggests sometimes that you're not her primary focus. In healthy relationships, both parties typically share the responsibility of initiating that conversation, demonstrating mutual interest and enthusiasm, okay? So if she rarely reaches out, it could indicate a lack of strong interest or enthusiasm on her part. Another important aspect to consider is response time. While it's understandable for someone to be busy, consistently slow responses or even leaving messages unread for extended periods could indicate that you're not a priority. If she's genuinely interested and invested, she'll usually make an effort to reply within a reasonable time frame, even if it's just to explain that she's currently occupied. Believe me, the quality of her responses is crucial. Pay attention to whether her answers are engaging or if they seem disinterested and perfunctory, okay? Short, non-committal responses could indicate that her attention is somewhere else. Asking thoughtful questions can help gauge her level of interest and investment in the conversation. Now, I'm going to give you guys some tips. The first tip here is to reflect on initiating conversations. First things first, take a moment to reflect on who's doing the initiating in your conversations. Are you the one constantly reaching out without much reciprocation? If so, it could be a sign that she's not as invested, right? So remember, in healthy relationships, both parties should be eager to initiate that conversation. Here's some things that you can do. Give her some space. Sometimes bombarding someone with texts or calls can actually push them away further. So give her space to reach out to you naturally and to actually miss you, okay? Another one is to find common interests. I want you guys to initiate conversations around topics that actually interest the both of you. This can spark more engaging dialogue and actually show her that you're genuinely interested in her thoughts and opinions, okay? Tip number 2. Pay attention to the response time. Now, let's talk about response times real quick. It's understandable that she might be busy, but consistently slow responses or leaving messages in the unread for extended periods could actually indicate that you're not a priority, right? So some things that you can do is to be patient, understand that everyone has different schedules and responsibilities. Give her the benefit of the doubt if she's genuinely busy. Another thing you can do is to express your needs. If slow responses bother you, communicate openly about it. Let her know that you value timely communication and ask if there's anything that you can do to help streamline the process. You might also be able to give some examples of other people that have done this to you in the past. Okay? That's an indirect way, but I really suggest that you express your needs because building that bond and communication is essential for a successful relationship. Okay? Now, tip number 3 that I'm going to give you guys is to remember that quality of responses matters, right? Pay attention to the quality of her responses. Are they engaging and thoughtful, or do they feel like that she's disinterested or perfunctory, right? Here's what you can do. Encourage open communication. I want you guys to create a safe space for her to express herself openly. Encourage her to share her thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Okay, another thing that you can do is to just be present. Show a genuine interest in what she has to say. Have you maybe not been doing this as well? Okay, I want you guys to do this by also asking open ended questions that encourage a deeper conversation and actively listen to her responses. All right, now, in summary, communication is key in any relationship. So if you're experiencing infrequent communication, it's essential to address it openly and honestly. By reflecting on your own actions and making an effort to improve communication, you can actually strengthen your connection and build a healthier relationship. Now, let's address the sixth issue, okay? Reluctance to introduce you to friends and family. Being introduced to your partner's friends and family is typically considered a significant milestone in a relationship, indicating a certain level of seriousness and even commitment in the relationship, right? However, if she appears hesitant or consistently avoids introducing you to her inner circle, it could indicate that she's not yet comfortable integrating you into her personal life. Okay, before jumping to conclusions, I want you guys to take note of how she interacts with other friends and even her acquaintances. If she seems to have a separate social life that she's not including you in, consider whether there's a deliberate reason to keep her romantic interest away from friends and family. Okay, assessing these patterns can offer valuable insights into her approach to relationships and even commitment. If she's expressed reasons for not introducing you yet, evaluate whether these reasons are legitimate and sincere. Okay, consider whether they stem from a genuine concern, right? Or if they seem like excuses to avoid introducing you. Only time will tell, okay? Communication, however, is key in addressing any concerns or reservations that she may have about introducing you to her family and friends, okay? Excuse me. Consider also whether the reasons she provides for, let's say, not introducing you are actually temporary and reasonable, right? Or maybe they appear to be excuses to keep you at a distance. Understanding her patterns in previous relationships can also offer valuable insights. Has she been slow to introduce partners in the past? Or is this behavior specific to your relationship, right? It's important to recognize that some individuals are naturally more private or protective of their personal life, especially if they've had negative experiences in the past. Her reluctance to introduce you may stem from a desire to protect her personal space and relationships, rather than a lack of interest or even involvement with other individuals, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some tips. The first one, which is a very common one, right? You guys are already familiar with this now, is to express your feelings. I want you guys to share your feelings with her about wanting to be included in her social circle and even meeting her friends and family, right? Be open and honest about your desire to deepen the connection and your commitment in the relationship, okay? Another tip is to respect her boundaries. Understand that everyone has different comfort levels when it comes to introducing partners to friends and family, right? Respect her boundaries and give her the space that she needs and the time to feel comfortable taking this step. Another tip is to initiate conversations, right? You can actually do this by meeting each other's social circles and even discuss any concerns or reservations that she might have about doing so, right? Encourage open communication with your partner to address any underlying issues or even her fears, okay? Another thing is to evaluate past patterns, reflect on her behavior in previous relationships in order for you to be able to gain insight into her approach to introductions and commitments, okay? Also, create opportunities. This is a valuable one, right? Offer to meet her friends and family in low pressure settings, such as casual gatherings or outings, whether it's a quick wine tasting, right, in the area, not going too far, turning it into a big old thing, right? Is an example. Going for, pizza sometime or whatever, right? This can help ease her concerns and create opportunities for that meaningful connection, okay? And the last but not least, and a very, very important one, okay, is to be patient. Yes, be patient and understanding as she navigates her comfort level with introducing you to her social circle, especially if she's someone that's a single mother with children. She may not want to be ready to introduce you to friends and family, especially her children, okay? Be okay with that because she's still navigating how to introduce you to someone that is incredibly special and, influential in her life, right? So, building trust and understanding that it takes time. right? Not rushing the process, right? Because by rushing it, it actually creates more tension in the relationship, okay? So just practice being patient. Some individuals are naturally more private or protective of their personal life, especially if they've had negative experiences, like I said, right? So her reluctance may stem from a desire to protect her personal space and relationships, rather than a lack of interest or involvement with other individuals, okay? Now, on to the seventh issue, okay? Non personalized social media activity. I know this can be a tricky area to navigate, right? But social media often acts as a mirror reflecting what matters most to individuals. Keep that in mind. By browsing through someone's posts, you can get a better sense of their personality and even their priorities, right? However, if her social media activity tends to be general and lacks any personal mentions or hints of your relationship, it may raise some questions, especially if you guys have been dating for over a year, okay? This behavior could indicate that she's intentionally keeping her social media presence separate from her connection with you. And many people actually do this out of privacy concerns, however, right? So it's crucial to consider her overall approach to privacy. Some individuals prefer to keep their romantic life private and off of social media. I'm one of them, right? And that's perfectly okay. If her behavior is consistent with her overall online presence, it might not necessarily indicate disinterest, okay? So keep that in mind. It's important to observe how she handles other personal topics on these platforms to gain context, right? Look for consistency across different social media platforms. If she maintains a uniformly impersonal and general tone in her posts across platforms like Twitter or X, right, Facebook and Snapchat, it could simply be her personal style or even her privacy preferences, right? So, on the flip side, if she is more open and personal about other aspects of her life but deliberately excludes your relationship with her on her social media presence, it suggests that she's probably keeping her options open. And you need to ask yourself why that could be, okay? So in this case, it's important to compare her current social media behavior with how she handled past relationships. If she previously shared details about her previous relationships publicly, but it's noticeably more private with yours, it could indeed indicate a different level of engagement or interest, okay? The absence of digital displays of affection, such as tagging each other in posts, sharing photos together, or mentioning each other in comments, especially when these are common behaviors among couples, can actually be quite telling. If she refrains from these actions, it could possibly, doesn't mean it's concrete, it could possibly indicate a reluctance to publicly acknowledging the relationship. There could be various reasons for this, such as her possibly courting multiple men or simply feeling uncertain about the relationship for whatever reason, okay? Only you guys would know. Social media often serves as a window into what's important to people. You can gain powerful insights into someone's interests and even their priorities by scrolling through their posts. However, if her social media posts and activities are general and notably exclude any mentions or hints of your relationship, she's probably keeping her social media presence separate from her connection with you. So, here are some tips that I'm going to share with you for how you can approach this. First one up is open communication. Discuss your feelings and your concerns about social media with her very openly and incredibly respectfully, okay? Express how important it is for you to feel acknowledged and included in her online presence. I know this can be a little off-putting for some gentlemen. I get that, right? But you need to have open communication. It's so important and vital for the bond that you guys can establish in your mutually exclusive relationship, okay? Another tip that you can use to approach this is to understand her perspective. Take the time to understand her reasons for keeping her romantic life private on social media. Respect her boundaries, okay? And even her preferences for why she's actually doing this, right? But you still need to also express your need for validation and acknowledgement in the relationship. It's completely natural and it's normal, gentlemen. It's okay to speak up about your desires, okay? Another thing is to evaluate compatibility, right? Consider whether her approach to social media actually aligns with your own values and your expectations for the relationship. If her behavior online leaves you feeling neglected or unimportant, it's essential to address these concerns and determine if compromises can be made. Now, I understand that this can be challenging because you're like, I don't want to come off as a little beep, right? But at the same time, you have a responsibility to also acknowledge if she's the right one for you, fellas, okay? That doesn't mean that you're gonna break it off just because of a social media issue or concern or whatever, right? But these are things that add to the bigger picture. So keep these things in mind, right? Observing how she handles other personal topics on social media can provide that valuable context that you're gonna need, okay? Some other things, some more tips that you can do is to reflect on past behaviors. Compare her current social media behavior with how she handled previous relationships, right? If she used to publicly share details about her past relationships, but now it's noticeably more private with yours, right? With your relationship with her, it could possibly signify a different level of engagement or even interest in you, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean it's always true, gentlemen. Like I said, use your discernment, use your best judgment, okay? That's why it's important to, on this next tip, right, is to seek clarity. Have an open and honest communication, right? Have an open and honest conversation with her about your observations and your feelings regarding her social media activity. Encourage her to share her perspective and reasons for her behavior. That means you make it a safe space for her to share. That doesn't mean you exacerbate with judgments and you know, your own perspectives and thoughts on things, right? After she has shared her reasons. Right, so have that open dialogue with her and see where she stands, okay? Another tip is to set boundaries. If her reluctance to acknowledge the relationship publicly on social media leaves you feeling uncertain or maybe unfulfilled, communicate your boundaries and expectations clearly. And you might also need to internalize and figure out why that bothers you so much, right? But it's important to ensure that both of you feel valued and respected in the relationship, both online and offline. All right, fellas, that's it. Let's wrap up this video. So, in conclusion, the signs that I've shared in this video are not definitive proof, okay? You have to use your discernment. You have to use your best judgment. It's possible that you're not the only person, however, that she's interested in or even talking to, okay? Especially if this is such an early situation. You guys have barely been talking for a little bit of time, okay? However, it's important to remember that every person and situation is unique. Okay, make sure that you have the entire picture before you make any decisions. The tips that I shared here with you are just intended for you to take them as concepts, ideas, tips and tricks, right? Take the advice that works and discard the rest. Trust me, my feelings will not be hurt. My feelings will be hurt if you actually incorporate every single one knowing that they don't work for your situation. Okay, I'm just here to shed some light in hopes that it lights your path, okay? So, you should use these points as guidelines rather than definitive rules in your dating life. Open communication is key, right? You heard that throughout the entire episode, okay? Open communication. If you sense that she's not being straightforward about commitment, having a good conversation can help clarify her feelings and intentions. It's crucial to listen to her concerns and understand her perspective, okay? Additionally, take into account how she shows her commitment to you in other aspects of the relationship, right? If she's attentive, if she's caring, and even supportive, her reluctance to introduce you might be due to other factors rather than keeping her options open and seeing other guys. That might not be the situation, okay? So, anyways, I hope that this video has been incredibly helpful in some way, shape, or form. If it was, please smash that like button, please. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, okay? My name is Cynthia. Thank you for watching, and I'll definitely catch you in the next video. Cheers!